Mental illness. My definition of mental illness: people having something that is wrong with them. They have something that they cannot control, so they process things differently than from what another person does. Also, mentally ill take prescription drugs to make them feel better. However, they misuse the drugs. Growing up, mental illness isn't a topic that I knew much about. All I knew was that crazy people are mentally ill. However, that changed when I learned about the different types of mental illness. Depression and anxiety are the ones that I know pretty well. Two limitations on my definitions. According to Cura 2017, mental illness is a social construction. It is the determination of an individual is not what they claim to be and thinking, feeling what they shouldn't. One limitation to a real life situation from my definition is that mental illness was just people that are crazy. This meant that all people were crazy. However, that is not true for all mental illnesses. So my definition sets a limit by stating that mental illnesses meant crazy. Another limitation to my definition is that they overuse drugs to get treated. Various characteristics of mental illness. Some of the characteristics of mental illness, as defined by Cura 2017, are people who are unable to function in society: depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, anorexia, anxiety, etc. For my definition, I listed depression and anxiety, and those are just some characteristics of mental illness. Violence and the mentally ill. Violence has been stigmatized to mental illness. According to Pilgrim Rogers 2013, the general public has labeled the mentally ill as being violent. When drugs and alcohol are involved, it makes society quickly think that they will be violent towards others. People are quickly to judge the mentally ill, who are a minority, poor, live in a bad neighborhood. That is why violence is high. Violence is higher in those areas because the mentally ill are not provided with the right resources for them, unable to get proper housing, medication, and jobs. So right away, they are at a disadvantage. African American men are the highest to be violent. Factors that cause mental illness. Mental disorders are socially constructed by society. Mentally ill stood out, and what seemed abnormal to them is what made society give them a label. Cura 2017. Showing abnormal signs and symptoms, poor housing conditions, socially isolated, the media and culture have pushed for mental illness to be a norm. Economic reasons would be they would use pharmaceutical drugs to help the mentally ill, which will then provide money. Cultural, it can be part of their culture to do something that society can be defined as a mental order, something could be different from them. Politically, making laws to help mentally ill. Social, society labels anything that is out of the ordinary as a mental illness. Family member with a mental illness. According to Corrigan Newigolowski 2019, families who have members in their family with mental illness either have a good or bad experience with their family about their mental illness. Family can treat them as an outsider and different. Also, the family can have a burden on themselves by being related to someone with a mental illness. Finances, health, and work can be affected in the family because of people with a mental illness. They can also be embarrassed to be seen in public and say that they are not related to them. Through the eyes of siblings that have other siblings with a mental illness, it can change the relationship. For example, Jennifer has a sister with a mental illness. She felt that nobody didn't pay attention to her, and now that all the attention is focused on her sister, she felt that she was an afterthought. Whiteness in society and the labeling of mental disorders. In today's society, there's been shootings all over the United States. The majority have been white males. It is very common now that when there is a massive shooting, it's a white male, and the media instantly labels them as having a mental disorder. Heidsieck 2015, and then it says 154 mass shootings this year, and not one committed by a black man or an illegal alien. Let that sink in. And this is from Occupy Democrats Facebook page 2018. continues, according to Isaac 2015, race is a key factor when it comes to criminals and are labeled by society as mentally ill, while the other, meaning people of color, women, LGBTQ, and poor, are the ones that are deviant and abnormal to society. When it comes to crimes, the other are always get the harsher sentence than white people. Meanwhile, for minorities, the media, in a way, already expects them to be criminals. They get longer punishment than white people in the United States. Incarcerated is high for color of people. 1 in 36 Latinos, 1 in 15 black men, 1 in 100 black women, 1 in 9 ages 20 to 34 black men are incarcerated, Isaac 2015. And then these are pictures of massacres. The first one, top left, is Aurora movie theater shooter, which seems white. He is white. Parkland school shooter that happened last year on Valentine's Day. He was white. The Sandy Hook shooter that killed a lot of elementary school kids. And then the Las Vegas mass shooter, which quickly he was defined as being mentally ill. And it says, the media has portrayed all these white males as having a mental illness. The media talks to neighborhood or family witnesses that express their shock on what had happened to the individual. They are labeled as sick and in need of help. Helping people with mental illness. There are many ways to help them mentally ill. For example, getting them a job can help in a lot of ways. They're able to find a job, they can get housing and medication for themselves. According to Waiting 2015, the Thinking Skills program provided help for individuals with schizophrenia to keep their job. There would be one-on-one coaching every week, teaching and practices. 60% of people in the program were able to get a job. Housing, proper nutrition, getting the right medication are just some ways to help people with a mental illness. And these are my references.